I'm going to talk to you about questioning the author, or what we know as QtA, that is used as a comprehension strategy for students. Through the many readings in our course, we have read about how reading comprehension is a highly complex skill. According to the simple view of reading, students must be able to decode words and have good language comprehension in order to effectively comprehend what they are reading. If students struggle in either their decoding or language comprehension, they will need additional intervention support in that specific area to then allow them to develop their reading comprehension. Kingler, Vaughan, and Boardman mentioned that questioning is important to assess students' reading comprehension and understanding what they have read. This is from one of the articles we have read for this course. The comprehension strategy, questioning the author, or QtA, allows for students to answer teacher-directed inferential questions by engaging with the author's purpose and thinking beyond the text. The QtA strategy helps foster students to think at higher levels and not just pull little information from the text. So this is where we're grabbing for their higher level of thinking and not just focusing on the who, what, where, when, basic literal questions. The first article that I read that focused on questioning the author was Questioning the Author, a year-long classroom implementation to engage students with the text. This is a very well-known article. It was done in the 90s, this study, which was a year-long study that was conducted with a group of fourth grade inner-city at-risk students. The teachers were social studies and reading language arts teachers who conducted the instruction. These teachers were provided with training in QtA and then were to implement the QtA instruction into their daily instruction in their classrooms. The queries used in questioning the author are designed to invite understanding, interpretation, and elaboration by having students explore the meaning of what is written in the text they read. So this is found from our article from Beck, McMillan, Sandora, Kuchen, and Worthy. It also mentioned in the article that the goal of QtA is to address text as a product of a fallible author. It deals with the text through general probes for meaning directed towards making sense of ideas in the text. It takes place in the context of reading as it initially occurs, and it encourages collaboration in the construction of meaning. The purpose of questioning the author was to get students to generate discussion and to have students dive into deeper meaning of the ideas that they were reading about. So that was the focus of this study. However, the article was written in 1996, and it stated that it was challenging for these teachers at this time period to learn and implement the QtA strategy because it was a little bit different than what they're used to, the direct instruction that they were providing. This is now requiring student-led discussion. I mentioned that there needs to be continued work done to see if the QtA strategy provides significant growth in students' comprehension. However, in the article, it did state that the students did overall increase their class discussion and student-led discussion within the classroom. Then going on to Article 2. Article 2 is the effects of questioning the author on reading comprehension of middle school students. This study was done with 8th grade students who scored basic on their English language arts state test. The students were provided explicit instruction on QtA to improve their reading comprehension. Results indicate that the students improved their reading comprehension through the explicit QtA instruction. QtA is a great strategy to show students that reading is an active process. So we're showing them how we are actively thinking as we're reading our text. Teachers ask questions that focus on extending the meaning from the text and not just asking literal questions about the text. QtA allows for student-led discussions and more engagement from the students. Students will begin to learn the types of QtA questions that they should be asking themselves and that they will be able to do this in their independent reading. Our article stated that the QtA is a metacognitive strategy that allows students to take charge of their learning and comprehend what they are learning through questioning and discussion. The article also stated it is apparent that teachers need to utilize highly structured reading comprehension strategies that incorporate specific prompts for teaching students self-questioning skills to improve their understanding of narrative and expository text. Another quote from the text is, a statistical analysis of the data indicated that the QtA is a promising practice for improving the reading comprehension skills for struggling readers at the middle school level. So through this study, they did see success in the students' comprehension, reading comprehension through the use and implementation of QtA comprehension strategy. And lastly, our third article, which is questioning the author, English language teachers through the English language teacher's perspective. This was a 3-year study done with 3rd through 5th grade teachers. The focus of this study was to provide teachers with explicit training in the QtA so they were confident in providing their own explicit instruction of the QtA in their classroom. And the goal for these teachers were to improve their students' reading comprehension by using the QtA strategy and lead their students in rich discussion about the text they read. The results of this study showed that explicit instruction of QtA increased student-led discussion and higher-level thinking from the students. The text stated it had also worked well for students who were weak in the English language and who came from a multilingual background. The text also mentioned that providing explicit QtA instruction allowed teachers to generate student-led discussion and also required students to think at a higher level. Our text also says the text also stated how the study showed that QtA can be used in other content areas such as math and science, social studies. It's not just limited for language arts. We also read another article from Beck and McMillan from class that also addressed how questioning the author is beneficial for students' comprehension in social studies. So, questioning the author overall is a higher level thinking skill for students, which can be done through the 3rd to 12th grade. It is easily adapted for the different grade levels and different texts because you can adjust the questions that are being asked. You can just ask the simple questions of, does this make sense? What is the author saying here? Or to, again, have higher level question is maybe saying, how is this different from what the author has already told us? So it's really looking at deeper from just the literal meaning of the text, but helping connect students to the bigger ideas that are being addressed in our text as well. Questioning the author is done during reading. We know that for good comprehension, we will ask questioning can be done before reading and after reading, but questioning the author is done during our reading time. This can be done in a one-on-one setting with a small group for intervention or in a whole class setting. Make sure that when you are choosing to do this with your students, and just as always, our text that we choose for our students should be of high interest level for our students. And we have learned that throughout our coursework as well. Whenever you pick your text, you need to determine stopping points of where you are going to ask questions. And if you are providing the instruction for the very first time, it is so crucial it is very crucial to model the QtA strategy for students so they can see how it goes in a flow and not broken up into pieces and trying to have them do it on the spot. So first model, then do together as a class or with partners, and then obviously allow them to independently answer the questions or as obviously a whole group, provide discussion with the questioning the author questions. Once you've chosen the text you're going to read, you are going to want to make sure as you pre-read it, look at the stopping points, and you want to write down the queries or questions that you're going to ask the students. So here's a list, a brief list of examples. There's many others, but this states, what does the author mean here? Does the author explain this clearly? Does this make sense with what the author told us before? How does this connect to what the author told us here? Does the author tell us why? And why do you think the author tells us this now? So you can see how maybe some of these could be appropriate for third grade or younger grade levels, and then how some of these are a little bit higher to your middle school and high school students, how they can apply to our middle and high school students as well. Then at the stopping points, you want to make sure that you're allowing for wait time. I know us teachers, we're so worried about our time and the time crunch, but allow the wait time. Easily, we should be waiting 3 or maybe it's sometimes up to 5 seconds to get a response for the students, because we're waiting for their processing time, developing what they want to share, and making the connections to the text. So give them that wait time to share out. And remember, the students are leading the discussion, you're facilitating the discussion. So we don't want to continue to lecture and take over the discussion. Allow them to talk through. And then as different points, you can help maybe connect ideas with other peers or to the text, but keep your discussion minimal. Monitoring students' comprehension as they are sharing in their discussion. You're able to see which students are understanding the text, and by how are they able to make connections, whether within the text, whether their own personal experiences, other text connections, and so forth. And if you see some students are struggling or are not participating, this is where you could either pull students one-on-one or into a small group for further instruction. Some recommendations for implementation. There's 3 things that I definitely suggest of. Always pre-read your text that you're going to use. We should be pre-reading our text to begin with, but pre-read your text so that you can find important parts where you want to stop and really focus on a specific meaning that students are reading in the text, and draw attention to that. To the ideas, because sometimes when we are asking questions on the spot, we are actually asking our students lower level questions rather than higher level questions. Make sure you have the questions written out for your sake, so either in plans or on a piece of paper, obviously, or to have them written on the board. This can allow students then, depending on age-wise, where they can view the questions that they are going to see as they read, and already to help their minds start thinking about the questions, but also it can be a quick reference if you have them listed on the board, and you can say, okay, we're now on question 4, and you can address the students to just address the question and have the students discuss. And then lastly, make sure, again, I know I just had mentioned this, but providing adequate wait time for students to respond and let students lead the discussion. This is super important in regards to, again, letting our kids lead the discussion, because they are going to be able to make deep connections when they're sharing. That's going to help with their comprehension, whether they're making the connections to the text, to other text, to the world, to their own or other experiences. And that is going to help them remember and deepen their comprehension of what they are reading about. The next slide here, this is additional information. So if you want to look at a couple other sources, and that can go and explain to you more about questioning the author, the Reading Rockets has a good they have a couple of questions that you can use and take from there. Just some good information of just briefly reviewing the questioning the author. And then we have read, write, think. This is another one where, again, it does a quick description of questioning the author with some questions. Adolescent literacy. This is for your middle school and older students, where, again, it's going over questioning the author and how it looks in the classroom setting with questions. And then the last two links on this page are also just outlines that I was able to find briefly to have a lot of different questions. Some are good for the younger level and higher level or older level students in regards to questioning the author, questions that can be used with their text. You'll be able to see this and access this in the handout that is attached as well. And then lastly, our references of the three research articles that were used in for me to look into on questioning the author. And then there's two articles on here that we have read in class, but I wanted to draw our attention back to it in regards of they addressed questioning the author. So, again, many people might think questioning the author can be simple and quick because it's just coming up with questions. However, to be intentional and really get our kids higher level thinking going, and to have them have questioning the author be effective. You want to have questions pre-wrote out, good stopping points to make these connections to help grow our students' comprehension. And then in turn, after we've taught this strategy, we want them to be able to independently incorporate this into their own reading, whether it's in the language arts setting, science, social studies, and even into their math courses.